Stop the presses! Cause this right here isn't a sweet country ballad anymore. This is a full-throttle Hollywood betrayal symphony. Maggie Baugh just dropped a nuclear-grade scandal that could absolutely detonate Keith Urban's career and leave Nicole Kidman with nothing but shattered trust and colossal legal debt. The same man who built his entire brand singing about deep devotion is now being hammered with accusations of running secret deals, shady offshore investments, and multiple hidden lives right under his wife's flawless radar. And let me be clear, sources close to Maggie swear the evidence is utterly repulsive. So, what truly shattered this picture-perfect marriage? We're about to crack this thing wide open. Look, when people preach that money can't buy happiness, they clearly didn't realize how spectacularly fast it can demolish an entire empire. Keith Urban's legendary country charm is dissolving quicker than cotton candy in a hot tub. The implosion officially began the second rising music star Maggie Baugh decided she was no longer going to keep her mouth shut. Out of nowhere, she fired off a cryptic message on Instagram. A stark black and white image of a guitar case with the caption, "Some secrets aren't meant to stay buried." Within minutes, social media completely melted down. Fans initially assumed it was just a nasty record deal gone sideways, but then the piping hot tea started pouring out. This was never about music. This was about cold-blooded betrayal, massive cash, and ruthless manipulation, according to those all-knowing industry insiders. And let's get real. These people are never wrong when drama hits this level. Maggie Baugh allegedly had privileged access to Keith's elaborate private investment web. Yep, that very same network that supposedly exploited Nicole Kidman's massive global fame for its business credibility. Everyone thought Keith and Nicole were just another untouchable Hollywood super couple. Turns out, they were meticulously orchestrating a quiet financial hurricane behind every glamorous red carpet appearance and televised award speech. One anonymous source, who claimed to have been on Keith's accounting team, told Starflick Media that they saw repeated transfers, mysterious investments, and names on documents that did not match up. Nicole's initials were definitely used, but she reportedly never put pen to paper. Now, I'm not saying it's legally defined as fraud, but honey, the stench of it is suffocating. The smell of scandal is suffocating. I'm not calling it fraud yet, but darling, the stench of it is overwhelming. Now, here's the twisted reality. Nicole Kidman built her entire legacy on unshakable discipline and perfect grace. She has been Hollywood's flawless golden standard since the early 90s. Meanwhile, Keith Urban, the supposedly charming Aussie country boy, sold us that compelling redemption arc. A man who beat addiction, completely turned his life around, and married one of the most respected women on the planet. But somewhere between those glossy Grammy stages and the joint "We're So Happy" interviews, things took a deeply dark and sinister detour. Rumor has it that Maggie Baugh stumbled upon a secret she was absolutely forbidden to know. Allegedly, while laying down tracks in a Nashville studio, she overheard Keith's manager discussing redirected funds and signature placements. At first, she simply dismissed it as typical industry garbage, but when a payment she later received looked seriously suspicious, she started digging for answers. And honey, that's when this entire firestorm officially ignited. Multiple sources deep in the drama claim Maggie immediately confronted Keith in private, flat out telling him she had seen enough proof to know he was using his wife's iconic name to mask his greedy, private transactions. Instead of quietly fixing his mess, Keith reportedly lost it, wildly accusing her of trying to blackmail him for a moment of fame. Within exactly one business week, Maggie was mysteriously yanked from 2 major country music showcases. And that, my friends, is the moment she decided, game on, I'm going public. Now the internet is absolutely polarized. On one side, the rabid Keith Urban stans are screaming fake news, claiming Maggie's just a desperate wannabe starlet trying to ride his fame wave. But on the flip side, the genius fan detectives are pulling up every old performance, every interview, and every suspicious comment Keith ever made about money or stability. And let me warn you, once the fans start connecting those dots, it's a wrap. The ultimate stunner? Nicole Kidman has adopted an iron curtain of silence. Not one single post, not a peep, not even a dry quote from her PR army. Insiders confirm she's utterly devastated but maintaining an ice-cold, strategic silence. meaning she will not move until her high-powered legal team finishes tearing through a decade of financial records. One top-tier entertainment lawyer put it simply: if Nicole's name was used without her explicit consent, this is no longer just a nasty divorce. It's full-blown criminal exposure. I know. You're screaming, how could an A-list queen not know where her millions went? But buckle up, because here's where it gets truly dark. Apparently, Keith had total control over certain joint accounts under a joint management clause. This sneaky detail was allegedly snuck into their prenup renewal way back in 2014 when Keith was recovering from tour injuries. He supposedly manipulated Nicole into letting him manage their so-called rural investments while she focused on her film work. And guess what? Those rural investments turned out to be sleazy shell companies, offshore accounts, and even one fake property deal filed under a ghost firm called Golden String Holdings, which naturally has no verifiable address. Now, whether Keith set it up himself or had help, we don't know yet. But Maggie's proof, those infamous studio emails she's claiming to hold, might just be the missing link to this whole rotten puzzle. As this story went completely global, everyone started asking, why would Maggie risk her career to expose a giant like Keith Urban? And maybe the real question is, what did she see that was terrifying enough to force her public? Because when a man with that much money and influence starts moving in the shadows, I promise you, it's not about protecting love. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where this story takes its wicked turn. Just as the mob was demanding cold, hard proof, something absolutely bonkers happened that made the internet lose its collective mind. Maggie's team leaked a voice memo. Oh, you are not ready for this bombshell. This wasn't some boring random studio chit-chat or casual call. This was Keith Urban's own voice, allegedly captured on a secret line, discussing how to finesse Nicole Kidman's approval without the Queen even needing to be aware. The delivery was ice cold, utterly calculated, and completely unrecognizable from the soft-spoken country darling we thought we knew. The memo spread like wildfire through the digital streets. Millions of panicked views in mere hours. The trending hashtags went wild. Urban leak, Nicole deserves better, and my personal favorite, Maggie spoke the truth. On the explosive audio, Keith can supposedly be heard saying something terrifyingly smug. She trusts me. That's the point. The documents don't require her signature if I already have pre-clearance. We've done this before. Naturally, Keith's pricey legal attack dogs immediately screamed, "Deep fake." They even hired some high-tech AI analysis company to claim it was digitally manipulated nonsense. But here is where the story gets deliciously messy. Multiple independent sound engineers swore the voice was 98% consistent with Keith's actual vocal pattern. 98%! That's not a coincidence, honey. That's a confession with a professional reverb effect. But what truly torched the internet wasn't just the audio. It was what came after. An anonymous Twitter account claiming to be an ex-assistant from Keith's Nashville circle started dropping cryptic posts. One of them read, "Check the Cayman transfers. Look at the dates." She was filming in Morocco. Naturally, the amateur fan detectives instantly realized she was Nicole, and the Morocco timeline perfectly matched her rigorous shooting schedule for the Amazon hit series Expats. Translation: Keith might have been secretly moving massive amounts of money while his wife was literally halfway across the entire world. By this point, Hollywood was in a state of full-scale meltdown. Industry gossip mags immediately crowned it the country music scandal of the decade. Major TV networks quietly yanked all of Keith's planned interviews, and insiders confirmed several high-end luxury brand deals froze their sponsorship checks overnight. Even his team's dead silence was deafening. Zero press releases, no desperate Instagram lives, not one of those cringe, "we're focused on family" PR statements. Just pure, toxic quiet. Meanwhile, Maggie Baugh was the main event. She went live on TikTok, looking effortlessly calm, totally composed, and utterly unbothered. "I honestly didn't want to do this," she confessed, calm as a cucumber. But sometimes the truth plays louder than the music. That single powerful line. It instantly became a viral meme, a rallying slogan, and was even being custom printed onto fan-made t-shirts. She was smart enough not to mention names, but the message was crystal clear. She knew every detail, and she was absolutely daring them to challenge her proof. Then, as if the internet gods demanded more chaos, A notorious tabloid called The Velvet Wire suddenly released screenshots appearing to be internal emails between Keith's management and some high-powered Sydney law firm. The emails explicitly mentioned licensing fees and spousal identity used under entertainment clause. Now, I'm just saying, that sounds exactly like someone was actively monetizing a marriage. According to the leaked chain, Nicole's global likeness and famous name were being exploited to secure credibility for certain private artist fund partnerships. Basically, exclusive deals with major labels and fat cat investors who foolishly believed the Urban Kidman duo was a single, unified financial entity. Spoiler alert, they absolutely were not. Nicole's side allegedly had zero clue any of this was happening. One lawyer in the chain even wrote, "Please ensure the primary spouse remains uninvolved to maintain plausible deniability." Yikes. When frantic reporters reached out to Nicole's official representatives, they neither denied nor confirmed the leaks, but a source extremely close to her did tell the Daily Brief. Nicole's total focus right now is her children and getting to the truth. She is not interested in silly PR games, which translated from Hollywood speak means, "Lawyer up, buttercup." The backlash was instantaneous. Nicole's devoted fan base completely abandoned Keith overnight. His music videos were flooded with furious comments, rebranding him the country con man and Mr. Kidman's accountant. Some fans even began a full-scale boycott of his shows, demanding he be removed from an upcoming music festival lineup. And as always, the internet dug up the receipts. Old photos of Keith and Maggie at various industry events suddenly resurfaced, heavily fueling rumors that their relationship was never just purely professional after all. Now prepare for the soap opera twist of the century. Maggie's own uncle, a longtime music producer down in Florida, came forward, boldly claiming he had solid, hard evidence of the deals Maggie was exposing. In a shocking interview with a niche podcast, he declared, "This isn't about some petty money or fame. This is about integrity." He stressed that Keith tried to silence Maggie, and when that failed, he tried to destroy her entire career. That podcast episode went mega viral within hours, adding a powerful new layer to the already raging chaos. But perhaps the most genuinely shocking revelation came from a completely different direction. A former publicist who worked for Nicole way back in the mid-2010s. According to her, Nicole had voiced concerns years ago about being left in the dark about certain business-related signatures. She was reportedly told everything was standard protocol, just a routine part of their marital management plan. If that statement is true, this wasn't just recent mismanagement. If true, this whole rotten scheme could have been simmering for years. And through all this mounting chaos, Nicole remained completely off the grid. Zero social media posts, absolutely no public comments. But the fans noticed the subtlest, most chilling move. She unfollowed Keith on Instagram. One tiny, quiet, surgical click that screamed more truth than any frantic press release ever could. The silence from her camp was absolutely deafening, which always means one terrifying thing. Something gigantic was about to drop. And sure enough, the very next morning, the Nashville Ledger published an exclusive expose claiming that federal auditors were now officially reviewing one of Keith's shady shell companies. The name? Golden String Holdings. The exact same company Maggie named in her initial statement. Coincidence? Please. Nothing about this toxic mess even whispers coincidence. Just when the public thought the scandal had peaked, a super private email between Nicole and her high-powered lawyer suddenly got leaked online, instantly rewriting the entire saga. Everything changed. That leaked T-mail between Nicole Kidman and her attorney? That leaked T-mail between Nicole Kidman and her attorney? Oh, darling, that wasn't just tea. That was boiling volcanic lava. The message, dated just weeks before the story broke, had Nicole writing, "If any of this proves true, I will not only walk away from the marriage, I'll ensure every signature tied to my name is investigated. I will not be anyone's brand." That single chilling sentence, "I will not be anyone's brand," instantly became the declaration heard across Hollywood. It hit the internet like a wrecking ball, brilliantly painting Nicole not as the silent, helpless victim, but as the powerful, ice-cold woman who finally hit her limit. According to that same email thread, Her legal team had already begun discreetly tracing financial flows linked to Keith's so-called artist development projects. But what they discovered wasn't about music at all. Instead, it led them down a rabbit hole of offshore accounts and corporate entities registered in multiple foreign countries. Some funds were vaguely marked for media partnerships, while others were listed under labels like promotional advancements and charity outreach. Translation: a sophisticated smoke and mirrors, money maze that looked less like a business plan and more like an extensive cover-up. Insiders close to the case claim Nicole's legal wizards even contacted international financial investigators to follow the money trail. And allegedly, some of it ended up tied to properties under secret aliases in Switzerland and New Zealand. You know the situation is catastrophic when the FBI and foreign banking authorities are being CC'd on the same email chain. And just like that, Keith Urban's golden boy image was collapsing faster than a house of cards in a Nashville hurricane. His desperate team threw every trick in the old PR playbook. Crocodile tear statements, pathetic public apologies, and even a suspiciously timed leaked rehab relapse story. But baby, nobody was buying that nonsense. Fans were officially past moved. They were seeing red. Country radio stations reportedly began slashing his airplay, and his next big album rollout was shelved with an indefinite pause. Meanwhile, Maggie Baugh, the woman who started the entire movement, just kept turning up the heat. She posted a chilling, cryptic Instagram story with a perfect caption: "When you lie to the music, the truth writes itself." Within 60 minutes, her comments section was a flood of pure adoration. People were calling her brave, bold, and the whistleblower of Nashville. And get this, she was far from finished. In a major sit-down with a streaming news outlet, Maggie casually revealed she had more proof locked away on a secured drive. She hinted, "What I've shown so far, that's just the chorus. The full song hasn't even dropped yet," and you know Keith's camp went into complete panic mode. Rumors swirled that he tried to negotiate with Maggie privately, offering a sweet settlement package in exchange for her silence. But sources close to her swear she flat out refused, legendarily proclaiming, "You can't silence truth with royalties." That quote immediately went viral, solidifying her status as the face of courage against Hollywood corruption. Behind the scenes, Nicole's world was having a stunning transformation. While Keith's name was trending for all the wrong, miserable reasons, she was being quietly celebrated for brilliantly taking back control. Entertainment insiders confirmed that the Queen had already begun restructuring her entire personal finances, separating every shared asset and formally reclaiming full ownership of her production company. A massive neon sign that she was preparing to finally cut the ties. Then came the moment that gave us chills. Nicole arrived at a major awards gala completely alone. No ring, no Keith, and no fake smiles for the cameras. When a reporter, practically breathless, asked how she was coping, she offered a sly smirk and simply replied, "Lighter." That single, iconic word instantaneously broke the entire internet, becoming the headline everywhere. But while Nicole was glowing in her silent strength, Keith's life kept spiraling down. Concert venues mysteriously started canceling shows, citing logistical complications. Every single major brand partnership pulled their sponsorship names. Even longtime collaborators began making awkward distance. As one Nashville insider tragically told the Southern Star, "The industry has quietly turned its back on him. He went from being the golden boy to the guy no one wants to call." And then came the cinematic twist, the one that blindsided every cynical gossip vulture out there. Fresh evidence suddenly surfaced, linking Keith's sneaky shell company to a secret investment cabal allegedly run by a major Hollywood financier, someone who previously handled Nicole's massive movie deals. If this shocking connection is true, it means Keith wasn't just misusing Nicole's name for cheap credibility. He was actively exploiting her most valuable industry connections. This is betrayal at the molecular level. Nicole's legal army reportedly slapped Keith with a private injunction, and court filings now scream that she plans to reclaim every piece of intellectual property tied to her name, likeness, and brand usage. Meanwhile, the whispers from her inner sanctum suggest she's developing a chilling tell-all documentary, one that won't just expose the marriage, but the entire dark underbelly of Hollywood manipulation. And here's where things go nuclear. Insiders claim that none other than Maggie Baugh was approached to consult on the project. If these two women, the victim and the whistleblower, actually team up, they will tell the world everything. That's an instant PR apocalypse for him, and a sweet dish served cold for them. In one final, desperate Hail Mary pass, Keith's lawyers issued a pathetic statement, calling all the claims baseless, defamatory, and financially motivated. But honey, it was far too late. The court of public opinion had already delivered the final verdict. The fans couldn't care less about official statements. They demanded accountability, and the internet made sure he got a lifetime supply. TikTok creators immediately started savagely remixing clips of Keith's old love songs with brutal captions like, "Was he singing to Nicole or his offshore account?" Every meme, every sick parody, and every single edit drove the final, perfectly placed nail into the coffin of his once golden reputation. As for the Queen, Nicole wisely grabbed her daughters and flew straight back to Australia, seeking refuge with her mother, far, far away from the chaotic headlines and the prying cameras. But just before she jetted off, a paparazzi managed to snag a golden shot. Nicole smiling softly in the terminal, scrolling through something on her phone. When one desperate reporter shouted, asking for any final words, she delivered the perfect mic drop. Sometimes silence is the loudest truth. And just like that, the entire narrative pivoted from a tawdry scandal to a triumph of survival. Nicole Kidman walked straight out of that crumbling empire with her dignity completely intact, leaving Keith Urban to watch the life he built on a mountain of secrets collapse under the sheer weight of his own lies. But listen, the biggest question still hangs in the air. If this was merely the opening act of what Maggie and Nicole are sitting on, what deeper rot is still buried beneath the music? Because in Hollywood, and especially in Nashville, the truth doesn't just fade. It meticulously waits for the next dramatic verse to play. And just when you thought the country music drumbeat couldn't get any louder, think again. Maggie Baugh didn't just ruffle a few feathers. She nuked the entire coop. Keith Urban's empire is shaking. Nicole Kidman's flawless Hollywood facade is visibly cracking right before our eyes. And the entire internet is having a meltdown trying to separate the painful truth from one very expensive lie. But one thing is absolutely certain. This isn't over. Maggie's current silence now screams louder than any of her songs ever could. And Keith's pathetic team cannot possibly spin this into another redemption story. Not this time! So, what's your verdict? Is Maggie the brave, fearless whistleblower Nashville was crying out for? Or is she simply the toxic storm that tore down its supposed golden couple? Drop your fiery thoughts below in the comments, because this tea is way too scorching to sip solo. And trust me, I'm already holding the next chapter. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, and definitely hit the notification bell. Because here on CelebX, we don't just spill the tea, we serve it boiling. The next huge part of this scandal is writing itself as we speak. Stay glued to your screens, because the truth always finds its stage, even in a town built entirely on deep, dark secrets.